So I've just had my general health check with Bluecrest Wellness, and this is a health anxiety's dream. So I've got to talk about it here because it's the perfect place to talk about it. Um, if I'm John, and if you've not met me before, I've had health anxiety in the past. And there's these health checks going around by a few different companies at the moment. And Bluecrest offer various different tests, but what I had was the general health test. And this screening gives you sort of any indicators of any general things that are maybe warning signs, or if everything's okay, which is why it's perfect for anyone who has health anxiety, just to give that little bit of reassurance. I remember growing up, I was always saying, oh, I'd love it if there was just a test that just tested you for loads of things so you could just check you're okay. Obviously, this isn't testing for absolutely everything. However, there is loads of different tests that they also do, as well as the general one that I'll talk a little bit more later. So my test was today. So they sent me this email beforehand that just said a few things to bring beforehand and a few things to prepare. It was very relaxed, very low key. There is nothing to worry about at all. I wasn't really sure what the vibe was going to be, how many people were going to be in the room, but it was just you and like a healthcare professional in the room. It says you can eat and drink as normal, don't smoke or eat at least an hour before the appointment. You can take your normal medication, but don't take your vitamins. So I didn't take my vitamins this morning. Drink at least 2 big cups of water the evening before and the morning of. The only reason I can think that is because of the bloods. Maybe it makes it a little bit difficult otherwise. Wear loose clothing. I didn't even read that, and it was a bit tricky to roll up my thing. If you have a fitness assessment included, which I didn't have, please bring some running trainers. Don't apply moisturizers or skin creams to your arms or legs, which might be to do with the ECG that I had. If you're pregnant or not feeling well, please give us that a call. At the venue, please arrive 10 minutes before. If you're 5 minutes late, you can just make sure you call this number just to let them know, and there's parking available. So I arrived today. I wasn't expecting it to be where it is. It's at a hotel in Worsley, but it's also at other places around Manchester, and it's in a conference room space. So I wasn't actually sure what to expect. I thought it might be, when you see kind of these outdoor health checks in Tesco car park or something. I thought that's what it was going to be, but it wasn't that at all. So I arrived. I found it really easy. Reception just pointed around the corner. Waited for about 5 minutes. It said on the door not to knock, so I didn't knock on. I just waited outside, and there was a brochure of lots of the different ones, including some cancer screenings, which I thought were really interesting because for health anxiety, for my health anxiety, I don't want to speak for everyone's, that's something that's on my mind a lot. And what I've worried about in the past, even though I'm in a much better place with my health anxiety, I was like, oh, that's really interesting that they do these sort of, I don't think they're tests for cancer fully. I think they're tests for indicators of risks of cancer, but it might be worth looking into that a little bit more if you're thinking of doing it. I arrived at I think she was called Joanne. Was she called Joanne? Joanne. Yeah, Joanne was so lovely. She taught me through everything. She was really clear of what was going to happen, what kind of tests were going to happen, made it very clear that the results are going to come through. They're going to give indicators to this. I can also have a conversation with the doctor for 15 minutes as part of this, which I had no idea about, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And there's also this app that I've downloaded, which is called My Wellness. I've not downloaded it yet, but this is where I can also get my results, and apparently each thing that the blood test and all the other tests have tested for, it will give me those indicators of green, amber, or red, and if there's anything that I need to do about any of it. So I'm really intrigued to get the results. I'll do a separate video talking about the results when they come through, but very intriguing. But Joanne was great. She was telling me that she's worked in the NHS for years before this, and she was just really clear and really professional, and I was just completely at ease. I did my height, which I was 5'10". I'm always trying to say that I'm 5'11", but I'm 5'10". But I think I'm 5'10 and a half. Then I was on the scales, and the scales, I think they're the exact same scales that I have in my gym. because she was mentioning it tells you your metabolic age, your BMI, your this, your that, and my Gym Virgin Active at the Keys has that same scales, I think. But interested to see if anything different comes back, and also if you don't have that at your gym, it's very useful. Then after that, I had an ECG, so I lay down, and I think she took 20 seconds of that, and if there's anything to look out for, that'll be flagged on my results. I also had then the blood test, and I also had blood pressure. I'm trying to think what else I had. I'm sure there was something else as well. ECG, blood test, blood pressure. Oh, and then I also did this test for lung function, so where you blow into it, which I've done loads of these tests a lot of times before in more like scenarios, because I have asthma, so I've done the blowing test a lot. Blood tests I've done a few times, just with general health anxiety. I feel like you end up, over the years going to get tests more than not, because there's that hypersensitivity about watching out for your health and checking that everything's okay. And that's one of the things that I've loved about making these YouTube videos and just being really honest with it, is because I think a problem shared is a problem halved, and just hearing other people's, I honestly think talking about my health anxiety more openly on socials and in life has been part of, not the cure, but part of me getting a hold of my mental health with it. And just went off on a random tangent about health anxiety. This was really different to what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a lot maybe more intense. I don't know why. It was really laid back, really relaxed. I like the fact that there's sort of like lots of additional things that you can sort of test for if you wanted. I'm quite satisfied with just the general health check just for now, because I'm just sort of intrigued to have a little bit of insight. And I'm also intrigued to how sort of this is comparable to maybe some of the other ones going around as well, that I've seen on social media at the same time, which would be interesting to see in the future. They've given me a link which I'll pop below where you can get 10% off if you want to try it yourself. I do think this is a health anxiety's dream, and I am intrigued. I'll do a separate video talking about the results that come. I can't even remember them all off the top of my head, but Joanne was listing them, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of results from the tests that were done. This isn't a diagnosis, or this isn't a place where if you're worried where you're worried about something with your health anxiety, that you should do this instead of going to your GP or instead of going to your doctor. Please go to your doctors or GP. And I think if you're worried about something with health anxiety at the moment, I would say this isn't the right headspace for you, because you're going to be feeding into the energy of reassurance. But if you're not worried about anything health anxiety, or just general worries, but not like going through, I call it a spiral, if you've seen my other videos where you're spiraling about a particular thing, please go to see your GP. And then once you've got that checked out, then come to Bluecrest or wherever to give it a go, and just to sort of give you a little bit of like, it's more interesting than anything. I think I'm intrigued to see what comes back, and maybe what I already knew and what I didn't know. So I will do that other video as well, just to go through my results when they come through. I think I also get a hard copy as well of the results, which I wasn't expecting, which is interesting. So yeah, if you want to give it a go yourself, click the link below. And it was a great experience, very relaxed. If you've already booked it and you're watching this to sort of feel reassured, trust me, it's just like going to see a nurse, and you're just talked through some tests. And even the blood test, I don't really mind blood tests because I've had a lot over the years, but I felt it even less than usual. They're very professional, and I think the only thing which was surprising was it being in a hotel, but everything was there. It felt very professional. I felt very taken care of, so I didn't feel like, oh, why is it in like a hotel, like corporate room or anything. When I got there, when I first arrived, I was a bit unsure. Yeah. All right. Well, good to see you all. I know I did a video recently just talking about how my life's been a little bit chaotic recently, to say the least, which it has been. It's been a really hard few months, but I'm coming out the other side of it now, and I'm feeling a lot more myself, getting a lot more motivation again. So videos are going. If you're here for the hair, here's the hair for an update. I will do an update because I've got a few things to talk about, but I've not cut my hair as well for a while. This is completely off topic, but I've not cut it for a while. So I wanted to see how that goes, but I'll do an update in another video. Yeah, if you want to give it a go, 10% below, click the link. And yeah, give it a try. If you're not struggling with your health anxiety at the moment, this is a great chance to just have some intrigue, just to check on everything. So yeah, I definitely recommend Bluecrest. Please subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.